Moscow, Idaho, nestled in the rolling hills of the Palouse, was the kind of town where doors were rarely locked and everyone knew everyone. The streets were lined with bookstores, coffee shops, and the gentle hum of college life from the University of Idaho. But everything changed on a bitterly cold night in November 22, by dawn. The quiet streets were shattered by a discovery so gruesome, so unimaginable, it felt like a cruel fiction. 4 promising college students, Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Chapin, were found brutally murdered in their off-campus home. The town reeled. The nation watched. And somewhere in the shadows, a man named Bryan Kohberger silently observed, convinced he had orchestrated the perfect crime. It started as confusion. Then came the dread. On November 13, 2022, at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call reported an unconscious person at 1122 King Road. But when police arrived, they stepped into a waking nightmare. Blood pooled beneath bedroom doors. The air was heavy, suffocating with silence. The scene was carnage, intentional, personal, and almost surgical. The victims were young, radiant, and full of promise. Kaylee, a firecracker with big dreams. Madison, her loyal best friend and constant companion. Xana and Ethan, a couple whose laughter could fill a room. And yet, in the span of a few hours, their lives had been extinguished by a hand that vanished without a trace. The media erupted. Theories exploded online. Everyone was a suspect. But beneath the frenzy, investigators moved with cold precision. They were chasing a ghost, someone who had slipped in and out of a house, full of people and left behind only whispers and blood. Behind the crime scene tape, officers painstakingly worked through the layers of tragedy. Body cameras captured the shocked silence of first responders. Veteran officers broke down in private. Everyone knew this wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was a message. But what was it trying to say? Weeks passed, and the killer remained a phantom. There were no signs of forced entry, no murder weapon. But there were clues, subtle digital echoes that, when assembled, began to tell a story. A white Hyundai Elantra, a knife sheath stamped with U.S. Marine Corps insignia, a strange car circling the victim's home in the pre-dawn hours, cell tower pings that placed a phone near the crime scene at precisely the wrong time. This was no random act. It was meticulous, practiced as law enforcement pored over mountains of surveillance footage and cell data. A name surfaced: Bryan Kohberger, a PhD student in criminology. He lived just 10 miles away, quiet, analytical, reclusive. His academic focus? Studying the psychological underpinnings of killers. It was almost too perfect, and that made it all the more chilling. Investigators watched as he cleaned his car obsessively, days after the murders. His phone, once so active, had gone silent during the hours of the killings, only to switch back on miles away. Digital breadcrumbs revealed that Kohberger had made repeated trips past the King Road house, often late at night. His browsing history exposed chilling searches, crime scene photos, how to cover DNA, how long it takes for a body to decompose. They even uncovered a Reddit post he had allegedly made months before the killings, asking criminals to detail how they felt before, during, and after committing their crimes. He wasn't just studying murder, he was preparing for it. In the early hours, of December 30th, 2022, a SWAT team descended on a quiet Pennsylvania neighborhood. They moved like shadows through the darkness, silent and sure. Inside, Bryan Kohberger slept in his childhood bed. He never heard them coming. The arrest sent shockwaves across the country. Who was this man? How had he slipped through the cracks? As the investigation deepened, so did the horror. Kohberger had posted anonymously online about feeling like a cellophane man, invisible, forgotten. He had reached out to former convicts to ask what it felt like to kill. He had studied criminal behavior, not just out of curiosity, but with purpose. In his apartment, police found a chilling cache: gloves, computers scrubbed clean, and disturbing search histories. But most damning of all, a single trace of DNA on the knife sheath found next to Madison Mogen's body. It matched DNA recovered from his family's trash. He thought he was untouchable. But the science spoke louder. Further examination revealed his odd behavior before and after the murders. He had driven across the country with his father, passing the very highway exits that could have led to his arrest. During the trip, he allegedly asked strange questions to police when pulled over for a traffic violation. He seemed overly calm, perhaps too calm. Even as the suspect sat behind bars, the grief was unrelenting. Kaylee's father, Steve Goncalves, became the voice of a heartbroken community. He demanded answers, stood in the cold at candlelight vigils, and vowed not to rest until justice was served. She had plans. She had a future, he would repeat, as if saying it enough could bring her back. Madison's mother kept her daughter's childhood bedroom exactly the way it was. Xana's friends posted unseen videos of her dancing in the kitchen. Ethan's siblings, once part of an inseparable trio, now faced a lifetime missing a third of their laughter. Their deaths left a scar on Moscow, but their memory ignited something deeper, a resolve. Scholarships in their names, murals painted, strangers across the world grieving together. Their lives were short, but their legacy was becoming eternal. Parents of the victims met privately, offering comfort only they could understand. In the courtroom, they wore pins with their children's faces. On social media, they posted daily tributes, memories frozen in time. And always, looming in the background, was the trial. Kohberger pleaded not guilty. His defense cast doubt on the DNA. They claimed media frenzy would taint the jury. But beneath it all was a mounting storm. The prosecution built a case brick by brick. Cell phone records, surveillance video, his academic writings on the flaws of law enforcement. Experts testified to his antisocial personality traits and obsessive behavior. He had stalked the house. His car had driven by multiple times before the killings. His digital footprint revealed a dark curiosity that blurred into obsession. But it wasn't just a theory. It was a blueprint of his descent. And with every new piece of evidence, the noose tightened. Psychologists weighed in. Kohberger exhibited signs of narcissism, a desire for control, and perhaps even a desire for infamy. It was no accident he chose. Criminology, he wanted to see if he could outwit the very system he studied. A disturbing possibility emerged. Was this a thesis experiment taken too far? As court proceedings dragged on, the defense pushed to delay the trial, citing overwhelming media coverage. But the families of the victims pressed forward. They had waited long enough. The trial promises to be long and emotional. The courtroom will pulse with tension. Every testimony, Every image, every word will cut deep. But when the verdict comes, when the gavel falls and justice is no longer a concept, but a reality, it won't erase the loss. Nothing can, but it will mean something. It will mean that in the face of evil, the system worked. That no matter how careful, no matter how clever, no killer can outrun truth. Bryan Kohberger may have studied crime, but he misunderstood justice. It's not just a legal term. It's the collective will of a community refusing to forget. Justice isn't vengeance. It's memory with power. And for Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan, it's the final, unshakable word. In that courtroom, when the families hear the words guilty on all counts, a breath will be held and then released. Not in celebration, but in solemn relief. For the first time since that terrible November morning, peace may finally begin to take root, and the town of Moscow, forever changed, will take its first step toward healing.